Are you live? Are you live? We are live. It's late today. It's 1:18. We're here in the Real Simple Test Kitchen. Welcome to Real Simple Cooking School. I'm your host and teacher, Dawn. Today, we're talking about meal planning, actually anti-meal planning because I don't believe in it. One, because who wants to take that much time on the weekend, on your precious weekend, to do that much cooking? I mean, I love to cook, and even I don't want to be tied to the stove for that many hours. Two, how often do you plan a meal for Wednesday, and then Wednesday comes, and like you don't want tacos, you want pizza or chicken or a nice salad. So what we're going to do today, and what I suggest you do maybe this weekend, is just make some stuff. We're going to make 5 things that you can then riff and reinvent through the week in like a lot of different ways with a lot of different flavors. And I think that's a better way to what can we call it? I don't want to call it the anti-meal plan because that seems negative. Happy to get some ideas from you guys, but this is just like food to eat. Okay? Okay, before we get started, let's review the rules. I haven't been here in a while, but rule number 1, we wash our hands. I just did it because I've been touching this chicken. Rule number 2, we play nice. This is a constructive teaching kitchen, and I'm to keep it that way. If you don't have anything nice to say, so long. Okay, ready to get started?
Yes.
Yes. Brooke, are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Everybody's ready. It is like a low energy kitchen in here. Okay, here's the thing. A lesson on inactive time. I've got the oven on 450, 455, but it doesn't matter. If it goes exactly to 450, do it, you'll get close. So your oven at 450, whenever you're making a bunch of different things, I want you to think about what takes the longest. This seems obvious, but sometimes when we're going fast, we don't think about it. This chicken, we're gonna throw in the oven with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and we're not gonna touch it. It will probably take about an hour. So we're gonna put him in first, and then I'm gonna do all my other stovetop stuff while he's roasting. Make sense? Yes, very obviously makes sense. Sam, this is for you. Okay, whole chicken. I like it because you got a bunch of different parts, breast, thighs, legs, wings, whatever, and it's really easy to cook, hands off. So we're not gonna measure anything today. Olive oil, salt, a nice amount of salt. I have not touched chicken with this hand yet. Salt, salt, salt. Now we're gonna go in and rub. I'm gonna wash my hands after this, nobody panic. Okay, nice amount of salt, nice amount of olive oil coming over. While I wash, tell me guys, are you meal planning on the weekend? How successful are you? I think there are few very organized people who can pull off a successful meal plan through the week. But if you're one of those people, we want to hear from you. Okay, one other thing I'm going to recommend, just take off your rings. They're going to get messy. I'm putting them up here. Can someone out there remind me that I put them up here?
Yes.
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 Don't sell the diamonds. Okay, we got salt. Let's give it some pepper. This is like a little bit with my olive oily hands. Okay, 450. This chicken's like 3.5, 4 pounds. Most whole chickens will be kind of in that ballpark. It will take about an hour to roast, but that's like all we're doing. See, easy, easy, internet, easy. Yes, we're on the same page, you can do this. Chicken is in. All right, now we got all the time in the world. Okay, next thing. Now, if you were being really persnickety about this, you could be like, okay, what takes the next longest amount of time? You don't really have to think that, you got an hour, okay? But I'm gonna boil these potatoes. Boiled potatoes, we've talked about this before, are one of my favorite things to have on hand. You can reinvent them in a lot of different ways, and again, they're pretty hands-off. And once they're cooked, you can get them crispy. You can mash them. You can just toss them with butter and herbs and like call it a delicious side dish. These are called micro gold potatoes. They often come in this sack. I like them because they're cute, but also because they cook really fast. Okay, so some of these decisions are very intentional, okay? You can boil whatever other type of potato you like, waxy red skin potatoes or bigger Yukon Golds, but I might suggest cutting them up a little bit smaller so they cook faster. But if you got more time, take all the time you need. Or if you prefer a baked potato, stick them in alongside the chicken, okay? So opening up these potatoes, and then basic potato boiling goes like this. Okay, you put your potatoes in a pot. You come over to the sink. You cover them with cold water by an inch. That's some other recipe language that you guys will see often. It says cover with cold water by 1 inch. That's all it means, just to make sure everybody is submerged. Why cold water, you might be asking? If we started these in hot water or like drop the potatoes into boiling water, the outside's gonna cook a lot faster than the inside. Cold water means they cook evenly from outside to inside, so evenly cooked potato. Good amount of salt. Remember, this is your opportunity to get the salt inside the potato, not just on the outside. Makes for more delicious potatoes, okay? These guys gonna go on the back burner. Oh, you know what I meant to do? I meant to use that cast iron for the chicken, but it was already on that sheet tray, so I just threw it in. It doesn't matter what you use, but if you have a big cast iron, the cool thing about this is if you throw your chicken in here, you can throw some other stuff around it. But I guess you could do that on the sheet tray either. Also, boy, guys, I'm out of practice. Okay, bringing this to a boil. We'll turn it down a little bit just so it doesn't like boil over and get crazy. And that'll probably take 15 to 18 minutes total. Okay, next we're gonna cook some grains. I've got quinoa and I've got farro. Any requests? Quinoa. Quinoa, okay, great. Quinoa, we're doing it. Now, a lot of quinoa these days, oh look, it says here, pre-washed. Take a gander at your box or your bag. It'll say like, you know, rinse in a fine mesh sieve. It will suggest that you do that sometimes because quinoa is a seed. So when they remove the outside, sometimes this like bitter residue is left behind. Even the quinoa that suggests rinsing, I have sometimes not rinsed and not been super offended by the flavor. But I would just take their word for it and do what they say. So quinoa though is a 1-to-1. That means, sorry, 2-to-1, 2-to-1. Quinoa is 2-to-1. That means 2 parts water to 1 part quinoa. So you're going to bring your liquid to a boil. You could cook it in water. That's what we're gonna do today. You could cook it in stock. You know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna show you like a wild trick. If you don't have measuring cups, you can use this. David's gonna run and give me a measuring cup, but I'm gonna show you how to do this too. You just need a thing. Because this is 2-to-1, we can use this to eyeball it. So let's see if I'm right. So we're gonna go, my guess is this is 8 ounces. But we're gonna do the whole thing because this is like an annoying amount of quinoa to have left over. Okay, thanks. So there's 1. And like, we'll call it a half. So then I'm gonna guess, so we're gonna do 3 of these, right? Does that make sense? 2-to-1. I like to cook quinoa, I like to bring the liquid to a boil first. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna bring this to a boil. We're gonna add a little bit of salt. Same thing, you wanna season inside the grain. Otherwise you're gonna be like, this doesn't taste very good. That's because there's no salt in there. Top on will always boil faster. We don't wanna put the top on for the potatoes because it tends to make them cook a little unevenly. Okay, quinoa standing by. My water's coming to a boil. My potatoes are on, my chicken's in.
Hey, Dawn.
Yeah.
Farro fans out there want to know any tips you have for farro since we
Sure thing, farro fans. I call it farro, but I don't think it matters how you say it. I like to cook it like pasta. So instead of, I'm wondering what this box says. When in doubt, guys, read the box. Because all grains, because they come from the earth, like they're not exactly the same. So, and they're not grown in the same place, and they're not processed the same way. So again, trust the box. When in doubt, follow those directions. But farro, I like to just bring a big pot of water to a boil, dump it in, and cook it till it's tender, rather than fuss with specific measurements. Any of the like bigger grains, like wheat berries, farro, like buckwheat even, I like to cook pasta method, brown rice even, and then like you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think like, oh, there wasn't enough. The water was like boiling for a minute before I added the grains. Did I have enough? Don't worry, just dump it in. You've seasoned your water, and then you drain it at the end just like you would pasta. Helpful? Farro fans? Farro fans. Okay. Do you guys see what's happening? Chicken's in, potatoes on, quinoa almost on. I'm gonna prep 2 more things. And I've only been doing this for 11 minutes. And I know that I'm theoretically faster than you guys because I've done this a lot, but I'm also talking the whole time, which you won't have to do while you do this. Okay. A sturdy green is another great thing to keep on hand. Buy it over the weekend and it'll last you at least till Thursday if you treat it right. Okay, this is Swiss chard. I like it because you get kind of 2 vegetables out of it. You've got your leafy green part, the leaves, and you've got the stems, which are like crunchy and vegetal and, you know, just add a lot more texture to a dish if you want it. So for chard, depending on how you want to use it, you could separate the stem and the leaf. Now, I often do that trick where you do this, which sometimes works with chard. Sometimes you can see this part of the stem gets very tender and it doesn't release as well. So while that's this, you know, that party trick is one way to do it. Here's the other way to do it. And there's nothing fancy about this. You just take your knife and you cut down both sides. And like if you wanted to do a really like soigné preparation, that just means fancy, you could do that. But it's totally up to you. So chard, I would store the greens just the way you would store any leafy green or herbs. We will review. And you can put the stems like in the same bag, just, you don't need to wrap those the same way. See what we got? We have some like chard stems looking like yellow celery. So you could use these for sautéing, separate from the leaves, in soups, in stir fries. You could chop them up real fine and like put them in a vinaigrette as like a crunchy moment. I've had salsas made out of chard stems. And then your greens, you can use how you would any other green. And you can eat them raw. A lot of these hearty greens people have, you know, not considered eating raw. And we got on the kale tip and we kind of forgot about everybody else. But these make delicious salad greens as well. Let's review salad green washing 101. Same goes for herbs. Okay, I'm gonna tear these up because I'm not like, in no scenario would I serve it like this, right? So I'm just gonna tear, you could chop, I don't really care what you do. This is also makes storage a little bit easier. And I can feel this is kind of sandy, so this hopefully will be a good demo. Tearing it up bite size. Any questions along the way, you guys?
Yes.
Yes, Brooke is ready to go with questions.
Julie wants to know, is there a reason why you're using water for the potatoes and quinoa instead of broth?
Yeah, it's free. The question was, is there a reason I'm using water for the quinoa and the potatoes versus broth? Potatoes, I typically don't cook in broth. Also, I would say in this scenario where it's like, okay, I got an hour on Sunday, I'm gonna make some stuff ahead of time, I would just use water and a little bit of salt and keep it neutral. That way, it's not so punchy with a specific flavor down the road. I mean, broth is just kind of like salty and generally yummy. But again, water's free, and you definitely have it. So this is another way to access and utilize your pantry stuff that you already have. So potatoes, hope you have them. If you have sweet potatoes, cook those. Quinoa, if you don't have it, use rice or cook a pasta, like some starchy thing. Make sense? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Brooke, what else you got? I will pause.
Nothing really. Everyone's just talking about how excited they are to
And guys, let me review what I said at the beginning of this. I don't believe in meal planning. You see what we're doing here? We're coming around from a different direction, okay? I don't meal plan. Sometimes I think it maybe would be more helpful, but what this is teaching you how to do is utilize what you have on hand, prep a little bit ahead so you can cook on the fly during the week, okay? Okay? Okay. Brooke's got another question in the back. Meanwhile, hold on, before we get to that, I'm gonna fill this up with cold water. Okay, while we do this, Brooke, ask me. What does Swiss chard taste like? Should we do like a live taste test and I can try and come up with words? That'll be fun. Swiss chard, I would say, is fairly mild. If you like curly spinach, I say this in all honesty, it tastes like grass. So intensely green, I think, is like an image that comes to mind. But it smells grassy, it tastes grassy. What's nice about chard is it's pretty neutral as far as greens go, so it can take on a lot of nice flavors. Garlic, ginger. I really like chard with like an agrodolce, like a sweet and sour kind of thing. So saute some onions or garlic, throw your chard in with a handful of raisins, finish it with a little vinegar or lemon juice. Jerry likes it. Okay, guys, come back over and see what's happening with the greens. Greenwashing 101. We've right in the salad spinner, right? I put my chard, I filled it up with cold water, I zhuzhed it around, and then I walked away. I was yammering, yada, yada, yada. Now I'm back. This is very obvious when, especially if you shop at the farmer's market and you get those really sandy greens. Those have not been washed in like a huge industrial tub, so that's why they're so dirty. But when I lift this out, I'm not pouring the water off, right? Because then I'm just gonna pour off any of the sandy business right back through my greens. Okay, just set this aside for 1 sec. And then, you know, you can kind of see, can you see the bits and pieces floating around in there? Maybe hard to see. No, they can see it. Water your plants with this. You know, I've become very aware of my water usage lately. Like, that's a lot of water. So, you know, not necessarily good for cooking because there's dirt and stuff in it, but take it outside, water the plants, spritz your plants. They like that too. Okay, let's spin. This is a different kind of salad spinner. We were just talking about this. And I realized, actually, I hold it down by instinct. These ones, if you're too strong, you can whip off the top. So just give it a little bit of anchorage and give it a pull. Don't pull like crazy because the handles can pop off, but I do think you get like better torque with these. Up to you, whatever you've got. Do get a salad spinner. I think it encourages one to eat salad, and then you really start to see how dirty your greens are. Okay, so, and see all that water? Like, we thought they were pretty drained, right? All that water just came off. I'm gonna pour this off again. Any questions? Salad spinning, green washing, green storage? No. No? Okay, great. So to store these guys, you know what, and I think I already did this. If your greens, I mean, they often do, especially when you pack them up yourself at the grocery store, you know, you'll put them in the bag so they don't have to touch the conveyor belt at the end. Save the bag when you get home because you can store in it as well. And if it gets yucky from any dirt, just turn it inside out. That's my hot plastic tip on reducing your plastic usage today. I have become really crazy about reusing my plastic bags. I am not no plastic. I just find it like really lightweight and convenient still. You know, one thing at a time. Okay, I'm just gonna put that there for now. These guys, there's a little, the stems, there's a little bit of dust. We'll just like give them a rinse. But then I would just stick these in the bag next to my leaves. But if you wanted to, you could go ahead and prep these now. In fact, let's do it. Do you guys see how much inactive time I have right now? I'm like hanging out. Potatoes are cooking themselves. I bet this water's boiling. You guys, did I not turn this on to high? Ugh, fire me. Okay, it was on low. Crank it to high. Bring it up to a boil. But these things go pretty fast, so I think we'll be okay. Okay, so I'm actually just going to salad spin these two, because I will likely saute this in some, you know, onion, garlic situation. You could also throw these onto the sheet tray with your chicken, but I'll just give those a quick wash. The stems are sturdier than the leaves, so they won't suffer if you don't wash them right away. But we'll just fill that up and let it do its thing. Okay, questions?
Claudia wants to know if you put the salt in the water yet for the quinoa. She didn't see it and she's checking on it.
Fair enough. Did I put the salt in the quinoa water yet? No, I didn't. I usually like to do it when it's boiling, just because in my head it like dissolves easier and faster that way. Good pinch, not too much. There's, you know, obviously less water in here than there, and versus pasta, where I'm really encouraging you guys to like do a handful. We're cooking pasta in a great big pot, right? So like ratios, smaller, ultimately smaller amount of salt to smaller amount of water. You see what I'm saying? Without saying anything. Okay. Guys, I'm making 4 things. I've prepped my greens, potatoes are on, quinoa is almost on, chicken's in the oven, and it's been 22 minutes. We're gonna have like plenty of time to hang out and chat, but I won't torture you. Okay, what's the fifth thing we're gonna make? Guesses? These guys.
Vinaigrette.
These guys know. Vinaigrette. Okay. Let's review. We've done this a lot of times, but I think that this is one of the keys to eating vegetables. That said, I do know that a lot of you guys are using and buying store-bought dressing. That is totally fine with me. But start to think outside of the box. It's not just for salad greens. You can toss your roasted vegetables in that. You could dress your greens with it. You could toss your potatoes in it. If you ever feel like, this meal kind of needs something, sauce. Use it to drizzle your chicken and potatoes and greens. Got it? Okay, so we're gonna make my favorite vinaigrette. 1 shallot, good sized jar. We're just gonna give this a chop. If you don't like shallot, or you don't have it, or you can't find it, which is, I realize, a thing, even in some well-stocked supermarkets. You could use a little bit of red onion, you could use a scallion, you could use a grated garlic clove. That's gonna be a punchier vinaigrette, but use what you got. So, same as cutting an onion, this is not probably gonna be the prettiest knife action you've ever seen, but let's just give it a go. So we cut parallel to the board. You see that? We'll do it with this guy too. Same step twice. Oh, I got too close. Guys, remember, it's not about perfection. It's about getting food on the table that tastes pretty good. Okay, we're gonna come back to these cuts and cut perpendicular to those. And then one more time, come back this way. And up to you. If you want just like a little bit of shallot, fine. Then stop right there. In you go. And this is just a small request to all of you, get your knife sharpened. And I don't mean put it through that thing that you have in the drawer. I mean like take it to Williams-Sonoma, take it to Sur La Table, go to your local hardware store where they likely have knife sharpening services and get them sharpened. It will make a really big difference. I know it seems scary and like you might cut yourself worse with a sharp knife. It's actually not true. You have way more control using a sharp knife. And you'll realize how like hard you are going at it with your dull knife. And that, my friends, is terrifying when you realize it's like out of your mouth and you're like, I couldn't possibly be chewing that hard. You are. We're animals. Okay, shallots going in here. Now I'm gonna add just my favorite stuff, little Dijon. Now, if you had, you know, less than this left over, 1 spoonful, 2 spoonfuls, you could just make your vinaigrette right in here. Hot tip. Okay, I like a lot of Dijon. Did you guys read Heartburn, one of my favorite books of all time? And Nora Ephron takes the whole book to tell you about her favorite vinaigrette. Ah, it's so good. Okay, decent amount of Dijon, squirt of honey. You don't have to use the honey, but I like it. I think it just kind of balances everything. See how I'm not measuring? No big deal. You're fine. Don't panic. A little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Okay, let's check on this quinoa water. Totally boiling. Cool. Okay, pinch of salt. Quinoa goes in. You guys see? And this will take 15 minutes. Okay, little stir with whatever you've got. This knife seems to work okay. When it returns to a boil, I'm gonna cover it, turn it to low, set a timer for 15 minutes, and then I'm done. Now, the thing with quinoa is I do think it benefits from a little residual steam. So I set it for 15 minutes, the timer goes off, I turn off the heat, and I set the timer for another 10 minutes. And then it's perfect. You can eat it after 15 minutes, but like it might seem like a little wet. So that's just like a extra tip. But again, hands off. You've done like 2 moves. Okay, we're boiling. I'm covering. I'm turning down to low. We're good. Someone set a timer for 15. But that also says 1:45, so I know at 2 o'clock we're gonna be done, okay? Back to my vinaigrette. Questions, Brooke? No. No questions. Guys, how many of you, tell me for reals, are gonna try this weekend? 1 hour, if that. I'm like, not even being that efficient. Phil's gonna do it, Natasha actually might do it. Jerry might do it. Okay. I like my vinaigrettes on the tart side. That means, again, like more of a 2 to 1. That means 2 parts oil, 1 part vinegar. But you're gonna see what you like. You're gonna make it, you're gonna taste it, and then you're gonna adjust, okay? So this is the other reason I like to use a jar. It has the lines. So I'm gonna go vinegar to there. What's it say, like 100 milliliters? Am I there yet? Almost. That feels good. Now, if I were at home, I would like fill up this jar and make a huge batch, but we don't eat that much salad here during the day. So I'm gonna make a smaller batch. So I've got honey, I've got mustard, shallot, salt, pepper, vinegar in here. Red wine vinegar, but white wine vinegar is fine. Sherry vinegar is fine. Apple cider vinegar is fine. I would say any vinegar is okay except distilled white. That's really for cleaning windows, which my vinegar expert friend, Michael Harlan Turkel, told me, Brooke, drop a link to Michael Harlan Turkel's book. It's called Acid Trip, and you had no idea there was that much to know about vinegar, but there is. Okay, so this is red wine vin there. So I'm gonna add oil 2 times that, okay? If you like it really tart, you could do 1 to 1, not me. Okay, and this is it. Olive oil. I make my vinaigrettes with all olive oil. Sometimes, depending on the olive oil you're using, it can be like a little rich. So you can cut it with a little vegetable oil, but I would say most olive oil that I'm guessing you guys have at home is gonna be fine to use for this. And then we shake, 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 shake. So when you're in culinary school, they teach you how to make a vinaigrette with a whisk in a bowl. And you add 1 drop of oil at a time and you whisk it in until it's emulsified. And you continue until you have this like beautiful silky thing. Or you could just dump everything in a jar and shake the hell out of it. It's like a little bit easier, right? Good for the kids, good for anyone who like doesn't really have the facility to emulsify. It's fine. So let's see how we did. Now, this is what I mean. Even this, I want you to taste as you go. I'm gonna just rinse this off because mini mustard. Okay, give it a taste, and then we're gonna adjust it. I can already guess that I might want a little more acid in this. Let's see. Actually, if it bites back, you know you did it right for me. It's still a little acidic, actually, so I'm going to add a little salt. Remember, salt balances acid, and vice versa. So if you've ever, like, I don't know, you went crazy and salted your soup too much, mostly in like liquidy situations, add a little acid, lemon juice, vinegar, something like that. I was thinking I might want to add lemon to this, but we're actually pretty good in the acid department. One more taste. I'll use the other end so I don't put my whole mouth in the dressing. It's good. This tastes like a pretty basic vinaigrette, which is fine because then you can also change this up through the week. You could add fresh herbs to it, like, why did I buy this whole bunch of parsley and I only used it for that one recipe kind of thing? No big deal. Chop up the rest and put it in here, and then you have like a beautiful chimichurri type sauce. You see? You see what we're doing here? We're learning the tools and foundational elements to make meals all week, right? Okay, keep this in the fridge. You know, my guess is the USDA would probably tell you to get rid of it after 4 days. I'll use it for 2 weeks. Especially if you keep it in the fridge, it's probably fine. Most newer fridges can handle it. Okay, what's happening now? We've got greens, we've got potatoes on. Do you see how like my active time is done? Now, once this stuff is done, you can use some of it for dinner. Like I could eat the chicken and the potatoes and the greens, and that's dinner. Or I could have the chicken and the quinoa and the greens. Or I could just saute the chard stems with some onions and have that with my quinoa, a little bit of chicken. Or screw the chicken and have it with beans or a fried egg. Okay, this is a good time to talk about this. How many of you guys get the magazine, get the print version of the magazine? All of you? Oh my gosh. Wouldn't that be great? What I'm going to try and do, Brenda, if you're watching, maybe we can do this. I would love to create a PDF of this page that you guys can print. This is from the September issue, the cooking school page, and it has this stuff on it. So we've got a roast chicken, we have boiled potatoes, vinaigrette, chard, kale, or other sturdy green, and quinoa rice or other grains. And then for each one of these things, there are a few ways to use it. A few ways to use each item. So if you ever come home and you're like, we don't have any food, you do have food in the house. And so for each one of these things, you're like, okay, I'm gonna cook up some quinoa, and then I'm gonna top my grains with some of roasted sweet potato, a handful of green, some chicken or a fried egg, drizzle with the vinaigrette. You see, so like all of these building blocks can be used in many different ways. So I would suggest ripping this page out of the magazine if you have it, or hopefully printing this. I'm going to try and make that available to you, and just sticking it in the pantry or the cupboard. And then hopefully when you're low on ideas, you can be like, oh, chicken tacos, of course. Okay, questions? Yes, yes, I love questions.
Claudia wants to know, is flipping out of olive oil with water to reduce the amount of oil you're using in your vinaigrette?
Here's my question for you, Claudia. Why do you want to reduce the amount of oil? We'll give you a moment. What I would do, if it's like a fat thing, like I actually really believe in fat. It's one of the things that makes you feel satisfied and makes like the mouth feel of something delicious. Looking at yogurt is a really good way to see this in real life. If you look at a 0% yogurt, well, 0% fat, and a 4% fat yogurt, the salt and the sugar on the 0% is way higher than on the full fat. That's because you have to replace the fat with other stuff that our bodies are hardwired to respond to, so it tastes good. So that said, I would not replace with water because then you're just like pouring water on stuff and it's going to get soggy. But you could replace it with, I would first suggest more acid, and then something else flavorful like apple cider, or they make a lot of those unsweetened juices like cherry juice or carrot juice could be cool. So I would maybe try something like that before I tried water. More questions? Yes! Guys, give it a try. And again, you don't have to make all of this stuff this weekend, but like maybe make 2 things. Even if you just roasted a chicken and didn't make a plan, I bet you would eat it this week in like a couple of different ways. Let's try these potatoes. I need a slotted spoon. Here we go. Oh. Remember, these are those micro golds. They're small, and they're done. How do I know? Because I put a sharp knife in there, and it came right out. If you're not sure, just cut it open and give it a try. So good. Okay, potatoes are done. You drain them. I like to then put them back in the pot. And the residual heat of the pot is going to dry up any of that moisture. And then let them cool. If you're not going to eat them right away, let them cool just a little bit and then store them in the fridge. And then they'll wait for you. Okay?
Hey, Dawn.
Yes, ready.
Julie says carrot juice and a vinaigrette. Bam, you just changed my life.
Carrot juice and a vinaigrette. Okay. Potatoes are done. Quinoa has 6 more min. Chicken has probably 25 more min. I'm too fast. Any more questions?
No.
No?
Claudia did say that she was wondering about too much fat, so you answered her question.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that's my feeling. I know that everyone's got different health stuff that they're dealing with, but I do think try it first, sort of the traditional way, and also you'll use less. You'll use less dressing if it has more flavor and more fat in it, because it's just automatically more satisfying. You guys want to see this make a salad? Let's do it. Okay, here's my chard. Now you could, let's do like a little cooking 101, right? Jerry, Natasha, remember this moment. I may ask you to cut it later. So we're gonna cut this into ribbons. Technically, this is called, what? Jerry's cheating. Technically, this is called a chiffonade, but don't worry about that. So this works for any kind of like big green, also works for like big basil leaves. You stack them up on top of one another. You roll it up. So I always like roll it up like a cigar, as if any of us have ever like seen someone rolling a cigar, but you know what I mean. And then you just come through. It's also just a different way to present your greens, so the kids or partners or whoever's not like, chard again. They might be like, what's this interesting thing that looks a little bit different than the way I was presented it the other day? You see what I mean? So I'll chiffonade the rest of this, and then that maybe I would hang on to for sautéing. See, you don't even have to be precious about this. Just kind of like line it up and come on through. Other questions, you guys?
Julie wants to know how much time would you cut off of cooking the chicken if you had butterflied it?
Good question. Julie asks, how much time do I have to, by how much do I need to reduce the time if I've butterflied it or spatchcocked? That's right, gang, which just means cut out the backbone and splayed it like this. I'm going to say that a spatchcocked chicken usually takes about 30-35 minutes at 450. That's with a little bit of browning first. So I'm going to say you could cut out 15 to 20 min. The only way to be sure is take the temperature, okay? Let's review thermopens. We are covering a lot of ground today. This is my favorite thermopen, and actually a lot of companies are knocking this off. But I do like the thermopen. It's an investment, but it will last you forever, and it's really accurate, and it's really easy to use. Okay, so for chicken, you want to put it right there between the leg and the thigh, which I guess technically is, I'm not built like a chicken, but you guys get the idea, but like right in there. Okay, we got potatoes. My quinoa is, ooh boy, come over here. I want to show you guys this. So it's a little early, but I think you guys will get the idea. So one of the smartest indicators I ever came up with was, you know, when you go to the beach and the water comes up and it recedes, and there's all those little guys in the shells, and they go boop, 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 like this, and you can see the little holes. Doesn't it look just like that? I know, I thought so too. Natasha's like, I guess. Okay, but this is looking great, and this is, I think, a really good indicator. That means there's steam coming up all the way from the bottom, so the liquid should all be absorbed. So I'm gonna turn off the heat. I'm gonna put the lid back on, and I'm gonna let it rest. I'm just waiting on my chicken still. What else do you wanna make? I'm not gonna make you guys make anything else right now. But point being is we have at least 20 minutes in this precious hour. So yes, you could make another thing, or you could like go for a walk, or take some time to contemplate your mortality. It depends on the day. Okay, any other questions before we wrap it up? Know that I'll pull the chicken out just so like we have a moment where it's satisfying. It looks like we made a lot of stuff. But any other questions before we head out?
Dawn, I have a question.
Ready, David, from inside the room.
When you do the second 15 minutes or
Yeah.
10 minutes on the quinoa, do you take it off the stove when you're letting it rest?
David asked, do I have to take this off the stove when I'm letting it rest? No, just turn off the heat. I don't think, it's a good question though, because there's, you know, this thing is still hot. The burner itself is still hot, but I don't think it's so hot that it's making a difference. So I think like, because I'm usually doing a bunch of other things, so I just like walk by, turn it off, and go about my stuff. So, but I will keep it covered. But I want you guys to see what we've done. Potatoes, quinoa, vinaigrette, greens, ×2. And this chicken probably isn't quite done. But, ooh. Ladies wearing mascara, be careful because it will melt when you open hot oven. This is looking pretty good though. So this has been in there, what, like 40 minutes? My guess is it needs another 10, but just to review, I'll show you. So right here, avoiding the bone, 142. So we're looking for 165, but something to think about is the closer we get to 165 or whatever your target temp, the faster we're gonna get there. Does that make sense? Because it's like an exponential heat. So it's not like a minute per degree or anything like that, but I would say we're gonna check this in 10 minutes and I think we'll probably be there. So that would have been like a 15-minute chicken, not bad. Yes, Brooke. Really good question, Monica and Dawn. How do you store this stuff? Which I do think is something, and maybe it's my fault, that we don't talk about enough, but there also like isn't some big secret to storing it. I think, generally speaking, you want dry things, you want to keep dry, right? So we spun these dry. You saw how I wrapped it up in a little bit of paper towel. That's going to absorb any excess moisture, because if it stayed wet, it's going to get yucky faster. Yucky being the technical term. So a little bit of paper towel or like a dry tea towel, use that. Potatoes and quinoa, like I would fluff this, I'll fluff this up. This made kind of a lot, so it's probably going to be like 2 quarts worth. Fluff it up, do let it cool slightly, because again, if it goes into a container warm, it's gonna create condensation, which will get wet. Potatoes, see how dry these are? Because I put them back in that hot pot, and the residual heat kind of dried them off. So these, same thing, I would let them cool. You can even transfer them to the storage container and just leave the lid off on the counter. Again, like go about your business, do some other stuff, and then put them in the fridge. If you're nervous about reheating or like, is it bad? Get it really hot. That's a thing they used to tell you in culinary school. I think so, like if you ended up working in food service, like restaurants or these great big operations, you wouldn't kill anybody. But if you bring something to a boil for 5 minutes, it should kill anything that's weird. I mean, I guess please don't sue me for saying that. Imagine we've signed some sort of casual agreement, but if you get it hot, God bless you both. Okay, to review, Brooke, drop the link to my favorite storage containers. Guys, these are delis. We call them delis in the biz. They're very inexpensive. If you live in a place where you get a lot of delivery food, they might come in this. you know, I think the general feeling about plastic is you shouldn't heat stuff in it, like in the microwave. So maybe don't do that, but I store, my whole fridge is like stacks of these things. This is a quart. This is a pint. Here's a quart, 4 cups, pint, 2 cups. And then sometimes you can get the little ones that are halvesies, which are nice too. So this is what I would store for sure my potatoes and my quinoa in. And this, the greens I would put in paper towel and then in a resealable plastic bag.
Question.
I mean in Ziploc, but yeah. Question.
He wants to know, is it okay to store these things in the cooking pots that they're already in if you had to?
Question, can you store these things in the cooking pots? Sure. They just take up a lot of room. But 100%, I've been in a rush, couldn't deal, put the lid on like this because it's not tall and stuck it in the fridge. Hot tip. Anything else? No? Guys, I mean, I'm dilly-dallying. We've got 14 minutes until the hour. I won't keep you. But get some greens. I think you probably have all your vinaigrette ingredients at home. I bet you have rice or another grain. You might even have potatoes. So let's say buy a chicken, buy some greens, and maybe buy a potato or several tiny potatoes. And you're going to have like a lot of really good options. So Brooke, is the article live?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, article's live. So guys, all this info is on the internet. So the link is here somewhere. And this video will live there as well. But there's some good ideas here. And again, in the comments, or join our RS Cooking School fam and tell us about your meal planning adventures there. But use these. I think you guys will really like them. They're really easy, they're approachable, and pretty family friendly. Okay? Guys, have a great week. Do some cooking. We'll be back in a couple weeks with a very special guest. Grab a jacket. Temps are cooling. It's my favorite time of year. I'll see you soon. Bye.